chance. And Johnson scores! Masaba's in the middle. Wednesday here could seal it. Gassman finds Masaba.
It's now Bannan. Bannan with a great ball in. Here's an opportunity. Palmer scores! Liam Palmer has scored for Sheffield Wednesday.
Football is such a cruel game at times. We take the lead with a fantastic strike, then it all unravels on a dubious red card and a penalty, and we come away with absolutely nothing. Are we going to get any luck this season? Is our luck ever going to change? I'm James Mappin, and alongside me, as he always is Matt Johnson. Matt, can you believe that we've come away with nothing after by far the best performance of the season since Plymouth?
No, is the honest answer, James. For 78 minutes, we were outstanding yesterday. And as you said right in the intro, game turns on a bizarre decision, I think, ultimately, when people have kind of like gone back and, you know, Sheffield Wednesday fans will delve straight into every excuse going. It was a total contrast the last, I was about to say 12 minutes then, but there were 10 minutes of extra time, weren't there? Those last 22 minutes. Yeah. Just total contrast to how the game had gone. No, I'm still scratching my head at how we've come away with no points from that particular game and only one from the week before.
Yeah, absolutely mental. For everyone listening, I got a message last night from Matt and it read, trying to figure out how I word things tomorrow so it doesn't sound like sour grapes. My response was, go full sour. So how many lemon sour are we going to be today then, Matt?
Yeah, there'll be quite a few, I'll be honest with you. There will be quite a few, James. It's not. I'll be honest, most of the time I'd like to think I'm relatively level-headed. I will try and keep a lot of that, but I was walking out of the away end yesterday just thinking, fucking, I don't know whether I'm going to be able to keep this all together. I'm not going to lie.
Look, Matt, we want raw emotion on here on this podcast. That's what we live off. You know, you don't sit on the fence. You have to just say it exactly how it is. But yeah, we'll be getting onto that one. Now we are going to be talking about the game in a second. I mean, obviously we have got a lot to cover, a lot of talking points. But first, I'm going to welcome Chris from Prostate Cancer UK, who's going to talk all about Prostate United. And I think it's also at this point that I would also say that I will be partaking in Prostate United this year as well. So I'm going to be doing a mix of the walking, the running, the cycling. I mean, I don't want to be doing too much walking. I don't want to push myself, but I'm not going to. There might be a couple of 5 or 10k walks thrown in there. But looking forward to it. Raising as much money as we can for Prostate Cancer UK in the process. But Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Just a shame it's after such a disappointing result as we had yesterday, eh?
Yeah, it's just, look, we're used to it now, Chris, aren't we? These disappointing results. Yeah. We had plenty of them at the start of last season, so it just feels a little bit. I won't say deja vu because it is totally different to last season, but I know exactly what you mean. Before we get onto the Prostate United stuff, Chris, obviously you're a Wednesdayite as well. You're not just wearing that blue and white shirt for nothing. We haven't bribed you into wearing it. When did that begin? You becoming a Wednesday fan, and how did you become a Wednesdayite? Was it as simple as, my dad took me to a game once, or have you got a different story to tell?
Yeah, no, I think it's the same story as most. Back in, I think it was 88, I went to my first Sheffield Wednesday game. My dad's from down south. He's a Charlton fan, so we were playing Charlton. He took me along, sat in the family stand in the south stand, watched the first game. We lost 3-1, so nothing much changes. But I was bit by the bug at that point. I remember.
Wait a minute. So how is it? So your dad's a Charlton fan. He takes you to Wednesday Charlton. Wednesday lose, and then you become a Wednesday fan. How's that even?
Yeah, I know, it's weird, isn't it? It's the you know what? My memories of that game is more about the crowd and the smells and the noise. Do you know what I mean? It was that kind of sucked me in. And we had a guy.
So he was up in Sheffield, and that was at Hillsborough, then, yeah.
Yeah.
It
was.
Right.
And,
that kind of makes a little bit more sense, I guess.
That makes a little, okay. He wasn't at Charlton. It was.
I was going to say that would be a bit strange, but especially considering we lost as well. I could understand if it was the other way around. If we'd have won, and you kind of found, as a kid, I'm not supporting the team that loses every week. I'm going to support this team that wins.
Yeah, if only he'd take me to Man United or something in my first game, maybe it would have been a different story. But there you go.
Yeah, definitely. Big question. Was you there for the playoff semi-final against Peterborough?
No, mate, I wasn't there this time. I live down Oxford way these days, so I've not been up in Sheffield for like 20 years. But unfortunately, I wasn't there for that one, no. But watched it on TV.
Yeah.
But not amazing.
Epic, absolute epic game, of course. But yeah, CZ said you wasn't there. This is the point where Chris leaves the podcast, and we'll see. We'll see you all next week. No, definitely not. Go on then. Who was your idol, Chris, when you was younger, when you were growing up?
Oh, look, my early memories of the Wednesday team of the 90s. So difficult one. Hurst all day, was my favourite player. He's such a great striker. He could have been even better without the injuries he got. So him, and probably after that, Waddle, when he came for those few years, he's just unbelievable. Still remember those kind of the 93 FA Cup semi-final against United. I was there at the West Wednesday 5-0 when he just dominated, scored a few goals. They're my memories of growing up, was a Wednesday team in the top division playing well, doing well. That would be.
Sorry, Chris. What's that like? Sorry, Chris.
A long time ago.
Yeah, we had the Luton guy on in midweek doing the preview. When my first question to him was, "So what's it like in the Premier League? We haven't been there for so long. We've forgot what it's actually like." But yeah, go on. Let's start talking about Prostate United FC then. So for those that don't know, can you just tell everyone kind of what it is, how it all came about, etc.?
Yeah, of course. So Prostate United FC is the biggest grassroots football fundraiser in the UK, raising money for Prostate Cancer UK. It started off back in 2018 and was set up by a guy called Stephen Gilpin and his mate Ross Burberry, who are both now, I think, fitness coaches at Wolves. But Stephen's granddad died of prostate cancer and he decided he wanted to do something about it. So him and Ross decided one November in 2018 that they were going to run 10K every day of November and raise money for Prostate Cancer UK. And here we are kind of 6 years later. Last year we had 750 people taking part. We've raised over £500,000 for prostate cancer. And it's going from strength to strength. You're taking part this year.
Sorry to jump in there, Chris. Sorry to jump in there, James. Incidentally, Stephen used to be a physio at Sheffield Wednesday also. It's where he started out his career. Only reason I know that is because it was literally the minute you mentioned his name, I was thinking, oh my word, what a small world this is. He is the brother-in-law of the person who was best man at my wedding. So, yeah.
There you go. 3 degrees of separation, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I think Adam Oxley, the Radio Sheffield presenter, he really got involved with it last year, and I've seen he's done some kind of promo work this time around as well. So I'm sure he'll be. I think it was his dad as well who
he signed up again.
Away. Yeah. So that'll be good. I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here. Are you able to say how much money's been raised so far? Then, when did you say it was 2018? So what's that? 5 years of it now. How much money's been raised?
We're in year 5. We've raised over £500,000 in total. It's obviously going to help save men's life from prostate cancer. Every year, sadly, over 12,000 men die from prostate cancer. That's somebody every 45 minutes. If you think about that, that's a dad, brother, best mate. Every half of a football game. We can only stop that, help save men's lives if people get out and raise money and support the charity. So it's amazing to see so many people doing that through Prostate United FC.
And Chris, what does the money actually go towards? Obviously, I know it goes towards saving people's lives, but what does it actually go towards to do?
Yes, so Prostate Cancer UK is the biggest charity in the UK dedicated solely to saving men's lives from prostate cancer and looking after and supporting men who are living with prostate cancer. So the money raised from Prostate United would go to fund life-saving research to help us find ways of treating and stopping people dying from prostate cancer.
Yeah, great stuff, and yeah, something that I'm proud to be a part of this year. 'Cause I did the one in January for prostate cancer. That was, it was doing some form of exercise every day throughout the month of January, which was tough enough, to be fair. But yeah, going one step further, doing a little bit more throughout the month of October as well. Obviously, when you sign up, obviously it's Prostate United FC, but kind of a theme around football. You can be part of a team, and there's some big names that are in the Sheffield Wednesday team as well, isn't there?
You can be part of a team, yeah. So when you register, you can choose a team you want to raise money alongside. There's 60 clubs from the whole of the football pyramid, Premier League down to National League, and obviously as a Wednesday, I'm delighted to say this year we've got a Sheffield Wednesday team with you in there, James, but fronted by Chris Powell as well. So he's leading the team. We've got 12 people signed up so far to be a part of that team, and hopefully many more will sign up. We've got until the 30th of September, so you've got to sign up by the 30th of September if you want to take part and be a part of the Sheffield Wednesday team. And as an added incentive, we're currently sat 8th in the fundraising table. And I'm sad to say that Sheffield United are up in 2nd at the moment. So we've got some work to do to get up there above them. I'd love to see us top one table this season.
Yeah, because do you know what? The early predictions, we did a 1 to 24 at the start of the season, obviously for the Sky Bet Championship, and did I have us beating United? I think United might have just shaded us, but considering how it started, it might be a little bit more different to that. So yeah, let's hope we can beat them on the on that leaderboard at least. But look. Let's hope it's Sheffield Wednesday at the top and Sheffield United second, because exactly. The main thing is obviously raising as much money as we possibly can. So yeah, if you've got any United mates, don't try and dissuade them from signing up just so we can beat them in the leaderboard. Let's get as many people involved and raising money, and also not only raising money, but getting out there and doing some actual exercise as well, because I need to kick up the arse, and this is probably that kick up the arse that I need as well.
Yeah, that's it. It's a great opportunity to get out, do a little bit. It doesn't have to be running. It doesn't have to be cycling. It could be a walk. It could be give an opportunity to kind of connect with some mates as well, do something together if you want. But just get out, do something every day across October, get sponsored for it, and raise money to support Prostate Cancer UK.
Is it, Chris? Is it growing year on year as well? More and more people getting involved, more and more people raising money as well.
Yeah, that's it. Last year we had, I think, about 750 people took part. So it started with 2 back in 2018, 750 last year. We're hoping for over 1,000 to sign up this year. So we've just seen it go from strength to strength. And look, the thing is, without people going out and doing stuff like this and raising money, there'd be no Prostate Cancer UK. We won't be there to fund this research, to make a difference, to help save men's lives. So it's all down to people like you, James, and the guys out there that sign up that are helping us do this work. So thank you to you, and encourage other people to get involved.
Yeah, definitely. And Joe, it's not just the raising money; it's also that awareness as well, isn't it? At the end of the day, getting people talking about it, because not many people do talk about these things, and if it's out there, I'll certainly be talking about it on the socials every time I might refrain from putting some of the pictures up, because I might be in a bit of a mess once I've done an hour on the bike, or a 5k run or whatever it is. It might not be a pretty sight to see, but I'll be certainly sharing the message and sharing the word out there. And if people want to sign up, just the easiest thing to do is just Google Prostate United FC, or if it is a bit of a mouthful, if you've got a pen ready, prostateunited.prostatecanceruk.org is the web address that you can go to. Yeah, there's Rob Lee, Andy Sharp, Andy Oldsworth, and Chris Powell, all part of the training setup and the staff at Sheffield Wednesday that are already in that team. Is any more going to be signed up? Have you got wind of any more people?
I've got no secret reveal to give you on the show. No, unfortunately. Between now and next week, we see a few more of the staff and a few more of the fans kind of signing up.
I thought this was the part where you were to say, well, Danny Rails just signed up as well, but that would be. I think he's a little bit busy for October to do that. He's gonna be like, sorry lads, I'll be on the coach in about half an hour. I've just got my 5K run to do around around Stoke or wherever it is. But yeah, Chris, massive thanks for coming on, mate. Do really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, great stuff. I'll be partaking throughout the month of October. So I'll leave all the links, in the description and everything. If you want to sign up, or if you don't want to sign up, the least you can do is donate as well to the cause. And let's see if we can beat Sheffield United on that list. But yeah, Chris, massive thanks for coming on.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Great stuff. Cheers. That was Chris from Prostate Cancer, talking about Prostate United and everything. So that was great. And yeah, what a great cause, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that I think, again, as I mentioned with Stephen who set it up, I think like I've watched kind of like it from a sideline in terms of like Twitter and kind of speaking to Stephen off and on. It is a really great cause, and it is something that if you are able to take part, and it is something, I won't lie, it is a big commitment, but it should be, because it is such a, it is such an important cause. And as you say, James, if you are looking for any sort of additional motivation or a reason or an excuse, if you want to go to there to get yourself up and out the house and working hard and improving kind of like yourself and trying to build good habits, this is a really good opportunity to do so.
Yeah, definitely. So, as I said, links will all be in the description. And yeah, just sign up and do it yourself, or just donate as much as you can. Right, let's get on to the football then. Do we have to? Do you know what? It was all right. It was all right, man. I think that, result aside, and I know people will be screaming at the car radios or at the TV screen or whatever, saying but we come away with no points, and I do get that, and I get football is a results business. However, I'd much prefer to lose with a decent performance than Millwall or Leeds or Sunderland. 100%. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're right, James. Like, ultimately, there was nothing but positives that came from yesterday in terms of the performance aspect of it. And over the QPR, I think it's just the nature of how much of a kick in the proverbials it's been in the last two games in the last 7 days, which is it's a bitter pill to swallow for Sheffield Wednesday fans, because realistically, on the strength of those two games, the minimum that we should have come out with from either of them was 3 points, and ultimately we've only walked away with one. I don't think you can fault really the players or the playing squad. I don't even really think you can fault the coaching staff. I think it's we'll get into it, and I've got some minor grumbles at things that players were doing yesterday, but on the whole, again, two really good performances. And ultimately, once we get past this run of teams that seem to be everybody at the top of the table at this point in time, you put in performances like that against teams who are around you, or had we gone and put in a performance like that at Millwall, we'd have walked away with 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you can look at that, can't you? When you look at the league table and you look at teams that we've played already. Just looking at it now. All right, we've got West Brom to come. Sunderland, we've played them. Leeds, they're sixth. We've played them as well. So and we've only played 6 games so far this season. Yeah. So played after the 7th game, we'd have played 3 of the top 6. So it's mental, the run of fixtures that we've had. Let's kind of rewind then to pre-game. The team lineup was announced at 2:00, of course. It was Beadle in goal, Palmer, Bernard, and Firmino. I am presuming, it was a kind of back 5 or 3, whatever variation you want, but there was 3 centre backs. So Palmer, Bernard, and Firmino. Valerie, Charles, Bannan, and Johnson. Kabaki, Smith, and Windass. So it was 2 changes. Bernard and Smith both came in, and Michael Ehekwa and Ike Ugbo both dropped to the bench. So what did you make to that lineup? Because for me, I was all right with it. I know I put something out on social saying, does Smith deserve a start? I didn't actually know he was going to start. It was just I was just looking at his numbers and thought, you know what, is he perhaps knocking on the door? But clearly Danny thought he did deserve a start.
Yeah, and I think yesterday, even irrespective of your thoughts at 2 p.m, I think by the time that he walked off the pitch, he'd completely justified that starting role that he got yesterday. He seemed to do everything but score. Yesterday, I thought Bernard Frihekwa was the sensible choice in terms of that back three. He's currently our best defender and best available defender who's fit, in terms of if you're going to chuck Dominic Iorfa in there as well. And yeah, Ike Ugbo, we've spoke at length, obviously, on here about kind of like the struggles that he's going through at the minute, and whether that be still trying to find his feet or just trying to get up to speed. I think, again, we saw probably a little bit of that yesterday. But yeah, no complaints with that starting 11 that started yesterday. I was really pleased to see Olaf Kabatsky and Josh Windass keep the places out wide, and that there wasn't too much rotation in that initial instance either, which was good. And the midfield as well, that idea of kind of like Charles and Bannan sitting there, but with Palmer kind of rotating in to help out where possible as well.
Yeah, I think when you go back to the QPR game, and when that was a clear improvement on the previous 3 games, so it would be kind of a bit of a miss for players to miss out, just because Danny wants to rotate it. And yeah, Bernard for Ekwa, that Bernard was only missing because he was on international duty, let's be right, and he scored in midweek, and we're lacking goals. So if you've got, and he did put the ball in the back of the net twice as well. I know one was offside, but but some of these things, it's confidence. And when we are struggling for goals, if you've got a centre back that scored, why not play him? And Joe White, he's not just in there because he scored against Blackpool. He is our best centre back, and yeah, he should be playing ahead of Mark Lehekwa for me anyway. So yeah, I had no problems with the lineup. Like you said, Ike Ugbo's not really lit it up. Well, he hasn't done anything, has he, really, so far this season? Certainly not done anything to say I should start. Looks a bit off it. We were saying last week he looks half a yard off the pace, and maybe this kind of a little bit of a week off. Hopefully he'll be coming back fit and firing next week. And yeah, when you look at Smith, was it 3 assists and a goal? Obviously 2 assists in the last 2 games, being Blackpool and QPR as well. So if anything, he's kind of I don't want to say the form guy, but I suppose he is really to a certain extent when you look at the output and stuff. Let's get into kind of the overall thoughts. I'm going to go in with a bit of a broad question, really, and something I've seen on social media and in the Discord. Are we in a relegation scrap this season? A lot of people are kind of already resigning to thinking that we are going to be battling his way down near the bottom of the league this season. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm really not meaning to sound like clipped with this answer, but isn't everybody who is around about mid-table? Wasn't it up until like 3 games before the end of the last season where anybody from like 12th to bottom of the but apart from Rotherham, obviously, because they were shite, but anybody from 12th down to like ourselves could have gone down with like 3 games left to go. I'm sure Stoke came to us and they were in absolutely no danger. Swansea as well came to us and they were in no danger of going down, and they were like, oh my god, we need a point, otherwise we're going down. That was like 3 games before the end. This I'm sure I said it last week, this is what mid-table is. Like, you bounce around in that kind of area. Now, if you're up at the top of the table, it must feel like, West Brom have started like a house on fire, which I'm sure we're all thrilled about with them coming to Hillsborough next week. But, they go through a run of 4 games where they don't get a win. They drop from, around the top of the table down to like 6th or 7th at the minute. Like, it is what it is. And as difficult as it is, and as difficult as the run of fixtures also coming up is, it does ease off a little bit. And we do have some opportunities further down the line to be able to go and pick up the points. And the more that we play like this, and the higher quality that we see over the course of the last 2 games, and obviously the Plymouth game as well, we will be okay this season. Of that, I am absolutely sure. We will be okay. This time last year, no, I didn't feel like that. This time last year, I felt alarm bells absolutely ringing. At this point, I was thinking, right, well, we're going down. It's 6 games in, and I can already tell you we are going down. 6 games in, again, we're only, a position better off than we were this time last year. But I'm already looking at it thinking, we're not going to be in, we might be in and around it, but I don't think there's any ultimate danger of us going down this year. It's a totally different feeling and a totally different position to be in. So, no, I don't buy the argument of we're in a relegation scrap and we're one of 4 teams who will be in and around there at 6 games into a season.
last season we were a bit like Anthony Joshua and weren't laying any gloves on anyone. Whereas now I can see an identity and I can see what we're trying to do. All right, against Sunderland and Leeds, it were and Millwall, it was left wanting a little bit, but certainly QPR much better performance. Luton even better still. So yeah, carry on playing like that, and I don't think we'll have any problems. And I think at this stage of the season, I'm all right with that to a certain degree. Look, on a different day, we beat QPR if we just kind of hold us nerve for another 20 seconds or to boot the ball out of play. And, again, on a different day, the red card's not given, the penalty's not given. We beat Luton 1-0 or 2-0, whatever it's going to be. We're 5 points better off. And if you do the quick maths, 4 add 5 is 9, and that's Oxford are currently occupying 9th spot with 9 points.
Yeah.
That is how mad it is at the start of the season.
Absolutely. And I mean, everyone goes back to that old adage of 10 games and then you can see where everything sits. I personally don't buy into the 10 games theory based on us last year. I think you've got to give it until 15, 16 games into a season before you can realistically say, right, where are we? Because you've played a real mix of teams in those 15, 16 games. You haven't just played like we have in this opening window, teams who are flying straight out of the blocks. Now, admittedly, Luton aren't that at that point in time when pre-kickoff yesterday. Anybody who had Luton as a 19th place team at the start of the season, show me where that prediction is. Like, really seriously.
Show me your slips. Show me your receipts.
Show me your receipts, because they've got a £10 million centre half. They've got 2 forwards who are knocking on for 10 million as well. They're going out, it's again, I know club size and everything else is completely different. The 11 players that they're capable of putting out on the pitch are of a much, much substantially higher quality than us. Last season, this was nearly a two division split between these two teams with how shit we were and where they were playing. So, I mean, again, just some perspective. And I know that's getting really boring to hear as Wednesday fans, some perspective. But it is about, there will be easier games coming up on the horizon, but you just have to stay the course of your Lutons, your Coventrys, your Burnleys, your West Broms that we've all got coming up. Because after that, yes, it does ease up a touch, and there's your opportunity to go and get the points.
Yeah, I was angry after Millwall because the performance just wasn't there. I was just gutted after Luton yesterday. Do you know what I mean? It was just that... like, for fuck's sake, like, why us all? Like, why does it have to be us all the time? I thought the performance was much better. They looked up for it, I felt, yesterday. Every player to a man, they weren't giving Luton any time on the ball. It wasn't necessarily a high press. It was just pressing all over the field. Every time they picked it up, bang, they were on him. They weren't giving him time. They were, rushing him into passes. Passes were going astray. They were, picking up fouls here, there, and everywhere. And obviously, we'll get onto the referee, the man in black. Was he wearing black yesterday? I can't remember. But anyway, that
highlighter yellow, I think.
Oh yes, Stabilo fluorescent pen.
Yeah,
which is the referee kits nowadays, isn't it, really? We'll get onto all that in a second. The other one, which I've seen a few people saying that Danny Röhl is potentially in a bit of trouble. I mean, Errol Bullott is the Cardiff boss, or he was the Cardiff boss. He was yesterday. He isn't now. He's been sacked. But yeah, people are saying that he's in trouble, and I read it and I'm just shaking my head. Like, for me, he's got a lot of credit in the bank from previous, and again, like, for points that you've already raised, the performances have been better. We can see what we're trying to do. We've come up against some tough opponents, certainly away from home, Sunderland and Luton. Let's be right about it. It is tough, and again, as I've mentioned, on another day, we're 10 places higher up the table through kind of not much else changing, and as Danny said, the better team lost, really. And so, if that actually happened and Chansiri just pulled the trigger and got rid of Danny, I think I'd be done.
Oh, there would be, if he went and did that, like, say, for argument's sake, 3 weeks down the line, because this could happen 3 weeks down the line when we're still picked up no more points. Because that, realistically, with the opponents that we've got coming up, that could happen legitimately.
Yeah, let's have a look. We've got West Brom at home, who are top of the league, haven't lost a game so far this season. Then we've got Bristol City away, and then we've got Coventry as well. Who Coventry
is away also in it.
Yeah, so Bristol City are, where are they? They're 13th and Coventry 19th, but probably a little bit of a false position given where they finished the past two seasons. So they're just waiting for their season to kickstart. So it's not with beyond the realms of us not picking up many points in those next couple of games, is it really?
No, it's not at all. And the only person who Danny Role should be in trouble with is his missus for taking a job in England. And she's still stuck out in Germany, potentially. That's the only person he should be in trouble with. Any Sheffield Wednesday fan who has looked at that start, looked at the teams we've played, I know we were just saying don't look too much at the kind of league table, but you look at the kind of sides that they've played and the sides that they've beat. Realistically, QPR and Millwall. QPR is a freak. Millwall is an absolutely appalling display.
Yeah.
Everything else, these are sides who you would expect to be up and around it come the close of play at the end of the season. The two teams who we've played so far, we've taken 4 points in terms of we've taken Plymouth, we've taken 3, Millwall away. All right, you get absolutely taught a lesson and you were poor. QPR, you've taken a point. Those are the sides that you would expect us to be competitive against and potentially have a chance of beating. So far, we've taken 4 from 9 available. That's not catastrophic. When one of those is, again, one of the worst, it will be the worst goal that you ever see in the Championship this season. I just think anybody who is putting the manager in any sort of danger is ridiculous. Now, if the idiot who's running the shop decides after 10, 15 games, oh no, that's it, we need to go and get somebody else. I will tell you now, James, I genuinely, this is a big statement, I genuinely do not think I will be setting foot in Hillsborough for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Because you cannot, there is no way you can support that. No way. You can support the club, you can continue to support it, but I refuse flat out to give any shred more money than I have to that man in particular.
And do you know what? There'll be some people that, again, they might get to that point 10 games in and they'll be doing the comparisons. I've already seen it already. Yeah. I don't know if they're doing it for likes or anything like that, but they're saying, this time last season we were on X amount of points and whatever else. But I think the difference is the gaffers put a lot of investment into Danny Röhl. Right, let me rephrase. A lot of investment for him. And for the kind of recent years, anyway, in terms of, all right, we've had the discussions whether he's backed him or not, but he has put some money into him, giving him a new contract and all things like that. And I just think, you don't do that and then just suddenly get rid of someone just because, we haven't just picked up as many points as what we should have. And I know it's a points-based business, but yeah, the performances are definitely there. I'm just going to read some of the comments out. So do keep all your comments coming in. A reminder, we are live on YouTube and on X as well. Timbo, we will pull out of it for sure. Performances improving. Gary said, how much easier can it get? Millwall, QPR and Luton, 1 point, not good enough, worrying.
I can tell you, Gary, Swansea, Stoke, Cardiff, that's how much easier it can get. Millwall away, QPR, who were a mid-table side last year, and Luton, who were playing Premier League football last year. It's on paper, I understand what you're saying in terms of the size of the teams, but for me, they're not easy games.
Yeah, and then Danny said, Danny will come good, still backing him all the way. 100% on that one. We've talked about the performance, saying it was good, but kind of delving a little bit deeper into it, Matt. What did you make to the performance itself? Like we've said, far better than what we've seen in recent weeks.
Again, James, you said it at the top in terms of this will sound incredibly sour. So let me get this out of the way to begin with. Congratulations, Luton Town, on your 3 points at home and your first win at Kenilworth Road. I'm sure everybody's buzzing for you. I tried to make that sound sincere, James. From my perspective yesterday, up until the 78th minute when the referee decided to make his first big call of the game that he had to make, because up until that point, he hadn't really had a decision to make. It completely flipped the script on a game of football. If Luton can play against 10 every week, I'm sure they'll do really, really well. but they look fresh out of ideas yesterday, as much has been quoted by a lot of Luton media outlets today. Interestingly enough, walking back to the car from the ground, they were all saying, we've dodged a bullet there, because they knew they deserved absolutely nothing from that game. And that is down to, I'm sure Luton would look at it and say they were poor. I think it was actually from how good we were. I think we surprised them in terms of the way that we played. I think it surprised them in terms of the fact that we started Michael Smith up top and actually matched those centre-halves with... Michael Smith may not win all of his headers, but he doesn't half shift his body into the way of things. He run himself into the ground by the time that he'd come off. The midfield looked really good. The wide areas, both first and second half, even after the changes, were really, really good. Our goal on the afternoon comes from kind of the wing backs being in those kind of positions where they're able to jump because the forwards are high and they're pressing and forcing mistakes. We didn't allow their best and creative players in terms of Tahith Chung and is it Clark, who have been, who were pegged out as kind of like some of their more instrumental players over the start of the season. We didn't allow them time to settle on the ball. We won every single second ball. The first half in particular, the crowd decided that they needed to get on the referee's back I personally thought in the first half, not a lot. I thought it was very much just, this is what Championship football is. Like, it's more physical than the Premier League. Get used to it. Like, you've been here long.
We did make it a physical game, and that's something that we've not seen, and we've said that, haven't we, that we need to get a bit more, a bit more bite in his play, and not just like, it's all right, whatever, being too nice. And I felt like we did that. We gave him no time on the ball whatsoever, crunching into some tackles. And perhaps we were playing off the referee and being a bit more, not obviously going down injured or anything like that, but perhaps milking it a touch and getting the fans riled up. Do you know what? There's a bit on that where, whilst sometimes. Especially at Hillsborough, I find that we perform better once the referee has given some shit decisions, because the atmosphere goes up a notch and the fans get involved, and then you're cheering every single tackle and things like that. And when a foul gets given for you, the cheer goes up, and whereas normally it would be quite quiet. So sometimes it works. It works for you when decisions aren't going your way in a weird way. But I was more than happy, like you said, the wide areas that we were getting in, and they were resorting to just pumping it long to absolutely nobody. And Joe, what I mean, we'll talk about him a bit later on, but Akinfenmewo has gone up in my estimations tenfold, because I thought he had an absolute blinder yesterday. I forget the lad who he was marking, but. He emptied his pockets out in the cliche, keys, wallet, and their striker popped out, because he just didn't give him a sniff, and it was touch tight to him as well. He wasn't giving him any space, and it just getting a foot in, just poking his foot in there, and just getting the ball away. I thought Akinfenmewo did absolutely brilliantly to kind of fend them off, and like I just said there, they resorted to going long, and again when they were doing that, the defending was great. It wasn't that the ball was overhit or anything like that. It was the defenders working well to hold off the striker. There was a few times where I think it was Bernard were tangling with one of their strikers, and he were getting the face on. He didn't like it, and it were the first half. We just commanded it really well. One criticism would be that we were on top, and once again we're going in at the break and it's level, which it's been a bit of a theme, hasn't it?
I mean, the Bannan chance is the first one, which is a really difficult chance. He does well to even keep it within inside of 15 yards of the goal, because it's kind of rising on a half volley and he's trying to get over the ball. It is what it is. I mean, the glaring one is obviously the Josh Windass one, isn't it? And he has to score. I know Luton Town fans will say that it's a great save from Kaminski. From my money, he's inside the 6-yard area. He's the wrong side of the defender. He's first to the ball. He has to put the ball in the back of the net. The keeper's just done well to spread himself and got a hand to it. He has to score. And again, if I was him, I know he got a kick for it, and I know the defender came through the back of him. It doesn't matter. That's got to go into the back of the net. And that appears to be where a lot of our chances are going to be created over. Definitely the first part of this season is wide players being given the opportunity because the centre-halves are too preoccupied with either Ike Ugbo or Michael Smith. So actually our wide players coming in round the back, getting the wrong side of a defender, they have to be tucking them away. And the problem is at the minute, we just simply have not got the players who are firing in those positions. There was the Kabatsky half chance, which I'll be honest,
you were behind, you was there obviously at Luton. I was watching it live, and the camera is on that side as well.
Yeah,
it cuts in from that left hand side. Fair play as well, because there was about 3 of their defenders that all came over to him. He had nowhere to go, but it cut inside. I mean, I thought he was left footed. Clearly not, because he can definitely hit one with his right as well, and he hit it, and I was up. I thought that had gone in. I thought you could see it. Perfect. The camera angle was perfect for it. Bending round. Keeper didn't even bother diving. I mean, he would say he had it covered, but he definitely did not have it covered, because I thought that were nestling in the top bins, and if that had gone in, that would have been an absolute worldie of a goal. As it happened, just went wide. But I think we'd had. I mean, that was just after the half an hour mark, and they had not even threatened even our 18-yard box, let alone the goal.
No, and at that point in the game in particular, Luton fans were crying foul for every single little tiny half decision. And to be fair, there was one on the halfway line which Shea Charles went in for a 50-50 tackle, and it was one of the best. I haven't seen a centre midfielder put that kind of a challenge in since Sam Hutchinson was here. In terms of, he flew into it with absolute no regard for kind of his own safety, just flew into this ball, which he realistically he didn't really have much right to win. You could hear the noise of the two players kind of like colliding, and he got up and then sprayed the ball wide. And you're just thinking, that is that bite that me and you have been talking about, and a lot of Wednesday fans have been talking about for a long, long time. And what it did, I think, after the half an hour, it was actually shown on the highlights, the extended highlights that were put out by the EFL, is Adebayo jumps up for a header, and Deshaun Bernard actually doesn't foul him; he just jumps with him. Adebayo just hits the floor. Referee gives the free kick, and 3 sides of Kenilworth Road stood up and applauded and started cheering him. Now, I was sat there thinking, at times I've seen people getting wound up about refereeing decisions at Hillsborough. But when there has been legitimate cause for concern for it, I like to think of Wednesday fans in terms of, if you can see that the team are not working hard enough and they are, for lack of a better word, neshing 50-50s and they're not throwing themselves into it. I mean, we are the first to say that shit, and you get that kind of like those murmurings where it all turns sour. Yeah. It felt like from that minute, because that's when Luton got their first foothold in the game towards the end of that second half, where they did start popping it about a little bit more and getting into those wider areas and creating it. And it was, I suppose it was, I don't want to say half-time came at a good time, because I still think that we dominated the game up until the 78th minute. But that was the first time where it did look like these are now starting to look like the side that I suppose everybody thought that they might look like today. But we should be 1-0 up here, because we have been the better side this first half. I
mean, Shea Charles put in a fantastic header as well, which again, I thought he put it straight into the top corner. But, last-ditch header, and I think there was Akin Fameru as well, that in the 6-yard box just managed to get a toe on it and diverted across, which again could have quite easily ended up in the back of the net. So it was, great defending as well. Like, again, last-ditch efforts, all hands to the pump, which I suppose when we'll talk about later was to our detrimise a little bit, really. But I want to talk about the referee, which I feel like we haven't really done a great deal of this season yet, to be fair. But we will be talking about the referee and the decisions. But let's just talk about that Barry Bannan goal, because I feel like once again, just like last week, he scored an absolute fantastic goal. But it's not really going to be talked about a great deal because of other events that happened in the game. But the goal was, I mean, he has got some talent, and obviously we know that. But I think he makes it look so easy, and that could have ended up absolutely anywhere. But I mean, the cross from Valerie weren't half bad at all, were it? To be fair.
No, and I think overall that was what I think we saw in kind of when we press really well in this new form different to Plymouth, in terms of the front three was set. Windass is inside, so it cuts off that inside channel of being able to play the ball into that defensive midfield, central midfield position, forcing Doherty down the line, hoping really for what you got, which was that somewhat of a heavy touch. I know Rob Edwards, Luton Town manager, came out afterwards and said it's a mistake. I don't think it's a mistake. I just think Valerie does really well to read it and press him, and he gets on with it. Okay, you could argue he gets a little bit lucky with the ricochet, but actually once he's away, what he doesn't do is just shove his head to the floor and just whip a ball into nobody. He actually waits. I thought Michael Smith did really well in terms of drawing two defenders away, recognising the run from Bannan coming in on the edge. I mean, I was bang behind that goal. And when it was coming across, and you could see him lining up for it, because obviously when the ball goes anywhere over 10 foot in that Kenilworth Road at away end, if you're any other than 5 rows back, you don't see what's going on with the ball up in the air. And as it dropped and he hit it, it was again, you can hear it on the highlights again, but again, the sound of the ball kind of being struck, it was such a clean strike, leaving the keeper with absolutely no chance. And at that point, nobody in that ground and nobody who was watching that game could begrudge us going 1-0 up, because that was everything that was good about us yesterday. Defensively, very competent and set, strong in a tackle, good when we did get forward and put the ball in. We had a decent delivery, and just that one time where we've got a player on the edge of the box who is capable of scoring and pulling something out, which is a really difficult skill to keep that down, because I mean, on the highlights it looks like it's coming down with snow on it. It's a great goal, and me and you did a full 45-50 minutes of when is Bannan's time, and I suppose if you play like we did yesterday, Bannan can go on for another 2 seasons in terms of if you protect him and just ask him to do the good things, similar to, like, I suppose, what we did for the first 60-70 minutes at QPR. I thought what Roll did, interestingly, was then to look to try and protect him and bring in on Svante Ingelsson. I don't think Ingelsson was helped with, obviously, the decisions that came after that. But again, I understood the thinking behind it, if that makes sense, because again, he's trying to catch him before he starts flagging, I suppose, which is smart management.
The season's long, and you'd rather have a fully fit Barry Bannan for 60 minutes than a 50% Barry Bannan, or even worse still, no Barry Bannan at all. Now, I know history tells you that he very rarely gets injured, but you can never be too sure, can you, really? So kind of probably backfired a touch. But when it comes to Baz, I mean this in the greatest respect. Like, I'd rather him not be the main focal point in the team. I'd rather just have a team around him that are all of a similar quality to Barry Bannan. I mean, I know I'm probably talking, how much does that cost? It would cost an absolute small fortune, I'm sure. But what I mean by that is, you want a fully rounded team. You don't want just individual players standing out every week. And once again, we've had to rely on a piece of brilliance by Barry Bannan, because that was probably one of the most difficult chances that we had, and he managed to put it away. There were far easier chances that we had in the game. I don't know what the XG was. I've not looked. I'm sure it's not very high for that goal. But it was an absolutely great finish. You see him as well going. He cupped his ears as well to the crowd. He did that last week as well, didn't he? So maybe he's seen a bit of the criticism. Maybe he's a Patreon member, and maybe that was directed at you, Matt. Maybe he'd seen you in the crowd and he was directing that at you.
I highly doubt it. To be fair, we were quite complimentary.
To be fair, he did see your Instagram story in the morning, so maybe he did pick you out.
Yeah, I have been trying to take my head off Mars from seeing that had happened. So, yeah. But, I mean, again, it's going back to that point of recognising kind of where he's at in his career and what we need to do. And you've just summed it up perfectly there, James, in terms of we need to build a team around him to facilitate him and allow him to just do the good stuff. We're not asking you now to what we were doing pre-COVID, where we were asking you to, run everything and try to take games by the scruff of the neck. We know you've done that, and that's not the point of the career that we want from you. Let Shea Charles do your running. Let him fly into tackles. Let him do all of that stuff. That's the whole reason he's been brought in. Allow yourself just those moments of quality on the ball where you can really, you want him to be a game decider, not somebody who's setting it up for somebody else to kind of allowing them the platform to go and win it at the minute. But yeah, it's an outstanding goal. Yeah, 2-2. So I get the distinct impression that we're going to need another one against West Brom.
Yeah, we said that he needed to score more goals, and he's duly obliged. So,
yeah,
long may that continue. Let's talk about this referee then. I have to admit, first off, he did seem to give everything to us. There was a few that were a little bit dubious. I think there was one with Palmer. Their lad got there first, and then he followed through into him, and we won a free kick. That one sent all the home fans getting angry and stuff. But I think that was just like a culmination of stuff. But there was, to be fair, I don't think he got many wrong, but he only takes a few to kind of get the fans, get their back up and things. But it all kind of turned once, well, from my opinion anyway, once we went 1-0 up. I thought we went 1-0 up, and then all of a sudden it was almost like he thought, well, I need to let Luton back in this game now, and started giving, it felt, anyway, maybe this is my blue tinted glasses on, it just felt that way. Let's just cut to the chase. Let's just fast forward to the handball incident. What could you see from your very, very shit vantage point from the opposite side of the pitch?
Absolutely fuck all, James.
So what was it like in that way end at the time then?
Do you know what was really interesting is obviously we went 1-0 up. Again, I think it's important to say this. The fans yesterday who were there were absolutely outstanding. In terms of from minute one, it felt like a slightly different atmosphere than it has. Like obviously I was at Millwall, our last away game. And that was very much sort of like still turning up with that, I don't want to say an air of expectancy, but kind of waiting for the players on the pitch to do something before you get behind them and back them. Whereas yesterday, it was just blind support for 90 minutes, which in my opinion is what it should be if you're at the game, and especially as an away game, because you do need to make your presence felt. Because Kenilworth Road, I mean, we've all been told about the fairy tale of it and kind of like how it can be very atmospheric. It was quiet as a church mouse yesterday for 78 minutes, and we and the team had completely silenced the crowd yesterday. It was around the time when that free kick was given for Alfie Doherty. I think in the 10 minutes build up to that, again, just after what you've mentioned, just after you've scored, we kept giving away really cheap free kicks in dangerous areas where if you've got somebody of the quality of Doherty, they are going to eventually make one of those pay for you. Most of them were out on the left-hand side, so he was kind of having to drill them across the pitch rather than having an in-swinger, which I think really helped us because there were things that were going over hit, there were things that were running straight out of play. We were first to the ball. When the ball went out onto the right-hand side and the foul was committed, literally the bloke who was stood next to me just went, it's getting nervous. We just keep giving away these. And I just said, they'll get a chance from one of them because it was the land of giants up there yesterday. I mean, Mark McGuinness, I'd forgotten how tall he was. He's massive, Mark McGuinness. And Adebayo, who plays up front for them as well. By that point, they'd had Carlton Morris on the pitch as well. And yeah, realistically, the delivery comes in. From our vantage point, you couldn't see a fucking thing. You could see that the ref had given a penalty and that everybody went up celebrating. Yeah. But ultimately, even in the melee, you couldn't really see that the ball had gone out for the corner. It wasn't only until I kind of got back home after the game and kind of saw like everybody having an absolute meltdown on Twitter about it. That you realise kind of like why people were so up in arms about it, I suppose. And again, I think up until that point, I know you've said there were a couple of question decisions by the referee. I personally thought up until that point in the first half, I think that's just kind of what EFL officiating is. You get some, you don't.
Shit.
Yeah. You get some, you don't. I thought second half, personally, the referee had come out with well, I've got 10,000 people here screaming at me that I've had a poor game. Maybe I am. And that does play in your mind. And, players have spoke about it. They're getting referees here or they'll tell them they're having a great game when they're making decisions like for their way and all the rest of it. I actually thought that the Luton Town crowd, he effectively, the referee yesterday, the two big decisions in the game, he completely bottled. And it didn't have to. Again, for me, seeing it back on the first couple of watches, I understand the letter of the law is now kind of like if it hits your T-shirt, like it's not, it's your shoulder. I think it's the motion of Bernard's arm towards it which actually probably sways the referee. And in real time, at real speed, it's really difficult to see whether it's actually struck, sort of like his forearm or wherever. For me, on the first couple of viewings, I was like, oh yeah, actually, that probably should be. The more I've watched it, the more I've seen, oh, well, actually, it's kind of like a whole body motion rather than an arm. I can understand it being given. Like I can live with being given.
Yeah, do you know what? You've said kind of word for word what I'm going to say, really, to be honest, on the red card. In that, initially when I seen it, I'm like, oh fuck, it's handball or shoulder ball or whatever. But once I've seen it more and more, and do you know what? I think what it comes down to is, does anyone actually know? And obviously, the handball rule has been changed time and time and time again, and it's kind of that grey area in it. And yes, he does kind of move his arm up, but as you mentioned, he's tried to get his body there. And I kind of mentioned this previously, but he did a block on the line for the QPR game as well, which everyone's kind of glossed over. That was a bit dubious as well, to be fair. But he's blocked that one with a great block. He's done exactly the same again yesterday. And part of me is like, Beadle's straight behind you. I mean, look, you're not going to know that. He's just trying to get anything on the ball to stop it going in the back of the net, which you 100% want. It's just like, it comes down to that luck thing as well, doesn't it? He's like, if he's not there, Beadle probably catches it. He probably catches the first one because he blocks it twice, doesn't he? Bernard blocks it, and then it's a header that he blocks again, and it's just unfortunate how the ball just pops up straight. I think it is McGuinness in it who has that header. But just one of them things. And I mean, we'll come on to the question of should there be VAR in the Championship in a second, because that question was floated yesterday as well. But I think it would have been very difficult, I guess, for the referee not to have given a penalty and a red card. If it was the other way around, we would have been going absolutely spare. But like I said, when these referees have to get the decisions right, and there's something I've seen. I don't know if it is a red card and a penalty or not. I don't know.
I think the interesting thing is, like, James, you've said, like, you obviously all of our view in the away end was completely obstructed. So anybody who was in the away end who said, I could tell that wasn't a red card, now you're talking shit. For those of you who watched it via stream, even if your initial first reaction was that's a handball, and then you get shown initial replays of it as well, and it then takes up until 7, 8 o'clock at night until you've watched it 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and then you go, oh no, it wasn't. Yeah, then 9 times out of 10 that's going to be given, and you just kind of have to live with it. I thought, again, I suppose a sending off is it that double jeopardy rule in terms of Beadle is behind him, probably would have made the save. He would have made the save whether he'd have been over the line or not. I'm not entirely sure. Whether he'd been able to palm it around the post again, I'm not sure. Whether you're just kind of prolonging the agony, who knows. But yeah, I think on the balance of play, if that had happened at Hillsborough, Sheffield Wednesday will never get a fucking penalty. It's 1,000 days. It's gonna. I'm going for it now. It's 1,000 days before Wednesday get a penalty, and that Twitter account can finally close.
Well, it's 503 days as of yesterday. So as of Saturday when we last played, since we last got a penalty in the league, which was the last game of the season against Derby. Obviously, I know we got one against Peterborough, but this is just purely in league football. It's been 503 days, which is absolutely mental. A full season, and then now 5 games of the new one. Mad. Go on then. I mean, I'll read a few comments out first. Chef Cam needs to be scoring 3 goals per game to account for refereeing cock-ups. He also goes on to say, to be fair to the refs, I don't think they're helped with the permanent tinkering of the laws and how they have to apply them. Seems every year to be squeezing out any scope for common sense. And Ted said, if you let amateur people officiate a professional game, you're always going to get incompetent people. We need ex-pro footballers to referee games. Yeah, that's been a point that quite a few people have made over the years. I guess how that will make things better, I don't know. I mean, it is a really tough job. Like, when you're in the moment trying to make the decisions and stuff. And why would anyone even decide to do it as well when you get all the abuse and all the poor. Referee's never had a good game.
No, if you've not noticed him, he's had a poor game. And again, up until 78 minutes, for me, I personally didn't think he'd had a bad game yesterday. I thought, again, I've mentioned it a little bit before, I thought the Luton Town fans were getting frustrated at their own team and the way in which that they were playing, and actually they decided to vent it towards the referee in every little decision. That was how I felt it was yesterday up until the penalty. Again, I know it will anger a lot of people. Me personally, I can understand why it's given. If that was us, we would all be screaming from the rafters that it's a penalty because he's moved his arm towards the ball, like in the initial instance. It depends on which side of the fence you sit on. One thing I will say that I was really pleased about was how ultimately it meant fuck all. How long Deschamps Bernard took to get off the pitch,
yes.
Because again, it goes back to that horrible shithousing stuff that we just have not seen enough of. And, he got into that open air space where he's kind of like laughing and joking about the fact that he can't believe it. And then he stops to roll his socks down and then takes one shin pad out, then takes another 2 steps forward, then takes another shin pad out. By this point, the entire ground is going absolutely ballistic at him. And nobody tells him to speed up or nothing. And he just carries on this really slow walk all the way.
Because the tunnel's in the corner as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's literally the full length of the pitch. And on the TV, the camera's zoomed in on him, and you can obviously see all the fans in the background, all fucking, giving him all the verbals under the sun. And I was laughing. The commentator was saying, well, they can't really do anything to him now. He's already been sent off. So what is he? Yeah. What are they going to do to him? Nothing. Go on then, Matt. VAR in the Championship. We've had 2 decisions now, this week and last week. You could argue, that there was about 10 fouls in that QPR game, in that melee in the box at the end. I mentioned that we'd be 9th if we'd won this week and won last week. Is it time for VAR in the Championship?
No, because of the people who are officiating it and the people who are in charge of it. Ultimately, VAR in the Premier League has got more complicated and convoluted the more years that it's been in. I thought the best iteration of VAR was the one that was shown in the 2018 World Cup, where it was, we've got a minute to make a decision. If you can't find something to overturn it, you don't overturn it, you stick with the on-field decision. And everything worked perfectly. And then after that, because it's a new system that's been brought in and there are new rules that are constantly updated, you're then constantly trying to tinker with a system. I think it works for the automated offside system that's been brought in the Premier League. I think that works well. Everything else that VAR does down at the minute is open to interpretation. And I think when people make this argument, I sit there and think, hang on, just because VAR is in, you're still going to have the same type of people officiating and using VAR. It's not like that there are specialists out there who can make a different decision. They are match day referees who sit in, like a retail park in the middle of Banbury or wherever, making these decisions. It's still down to human error. It's still down to interpretation, because that is what football is. It is a game amongst humans. It's not a computer program. So actually, you are still going to find... Would that have made any difference had we had to wait 4 minutes for that penalty to actually be taken and then they ultimately end up scoring? No. For me, I just think I think the way to solve it, personally, I think is to mic referees up, personally. And so that you can at least understand the thinking and the logic that's gone in behind a referee's decision. Whether you agree with it or not, I think having that spoken out on a broadcast that can be accessible both in-game and post, I think is really, really important, because I think even if you don't agree with it, you can kind of see the thinking behind it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think for me, money aside, as in like the money that you need to put in to have all the cameras and then all the extra referees you need to ref all the games and all that sort of stuff. Putting all that aside, just from a perspective of VAR in the Championship. The Championship is now the 5th best followed league in Europe, I think it is. There's not many other leagues. Obviously, I think the Premier League's the top. I'm trying to just have a quick look now. But the Premier League's top. I'm sure it's going to be like Serie A, La Liga, Bundesliga, and then I think it is the Championship after that. Yeah. Even bigger than Ligue 1, in France, which in terms of how many fans go and watch the Championship, and there's a lot of money at stake as well in the Championship. When you look at, and I'm not saying that Bernard getting sent off and us going 2-1 down against Luton is going to cost us getting promotion to the Premier League, but it could for someone, and I think that's obviously why they brought VAR in the first place. Teams getting relegated off the back of a dodgy decision. I get all your points about the fact that the implementation is poor, and I think when I put this on Twitter, a lot of people were saying the same thing. It's crap. It don't work properly and stuff like that. But I do feel that when you look and you come away from the QPR game and you look at the replays and if that went to VAR, 100% they would overturn the goal because of the amount of fouls. There were not 3 fouls in there. One guy sat on Beadle. The other guy takes, how he's not broken Palmer's, legs. I have no idea. And then I think there was another one in there as well. And then they look at this one, the handball, and I could quite easily have overturned it, and not given it on a second viewing and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just the frustration of we shouldn't be talking about referees when it's a game of football. It should just be how good the performance was, or like the Millwall game, like Sunderland. We just deserved to get beat. Like the Plymouth game, we were just far better than Plymouth. That's what it should be like. That was a good game, that one. Not be talking about refereeing decisions all the time. But yeah, I did put a poll out there on Twitter asking people kind of whether or not we'd have VAR in the Championship. And to be fair, I was quite surprised with the reaction that we got, because I thought it was going to be very much a resounding no. However, 51%, just shy of 52% have said no. Obviously, 48% saying yes. So there is a bit of a split there. I thought it were going to be probably 75-25 in favour of no. Does that surprise you, Matt, that there's so many people thinking that we should have VAR in the Championship, or is that just born purely off emotions of the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think there's probably a little bit of that in there, but I also do think that we see it so regularly now at top level football in terms of like Premier League and Champions League and World Cups and Euros that actually people have become accustomed to it. I just would love to see the day when, in a freezing cold December at Hillsborough on a Tuesday night against, I don't know, we've mentioned them before, Swansea, where there's everybody sat in the ground for 4 minutes because everybody's trying to debate whether it's an offside or not. And because I know every single person who sits roughly around me would be going, fucking get on with it, I've not got time for... Like, it would elongate games out to a ridiculousness. And again, that's where, again, for me, I think you probably have a bit of a blend of, if you were going to bring it in, I think you've got to do it more like cricket, if that makes sense. If you look at kind of like the cricket decisions, they're played out over the PA system so that everybody can hear it and everybody can hear all of the decisions and the conversations that are being made, because you can't sway it because they're not the ground. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a no, because I quite like, I don't like the decisions that have gone against us in the past 2 weeks, but you went back to that Michael Smith penalty against Derby. I personally didn't think that was a penalty. So again, we've had to fucking pay for it, don't get me wrong. But again, like I look back at it and just think, genuinely over the course of time, majority of decisions do tend to even themselves out. And you will get some for you and you will get some that go against you, but it's a game of human error. Football, it's a game that's based on emotions and being in the moment. And for me, I think the minute you start trying to make it something perfect, I think you lose a little bit of what makes football for me. Yeah, I get that. It's a tricky one. I can see it coming in at some point, though. To be fair, I think VR would be. I don't know when that's going to be, but there's going to be some big decisions that are wrong, that are going to be quite costly, and there's going to be a call for it. But I do agree, again, like, it does need to definitely change. Sheffield makes a great point. Mind you, he also missed a blatant McGuinness handball and Windass taking a roundhouse kick to the jaw. Yeah, to be fair, we're probably going to run out of time to go through everything, because obviously we do want to look ahead to West Brom as well, which we're going to do in a second. But we'll have to talk about that another time, I guess. Let's
look ahead to the West Brom game then.
Do you mind if I just talk about the worst refereeing decision, James, which was the winner?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go ahead.
Because that for me was the worst decision of the lot of the day. Because I think the penalty decision, as we've spoken about there, is what it is. I think the winner is blatant. The first one from Mark McGuinness, I can understand you not seeing it. The touch from Carlton Morris onto his hand. You've got a referee's official and a referee who have both got a clear view of it, and neither of them give it. I think it's an appalling decision. That is where I think the referees had... I know they're supposed to remain impartial, but had kind of got swept up in the atmosphere that had been then generated by Luton fans and the fact that we were clinging and hanging on by that point, trying to play with 10 men. I think the Carlton Morris one is blatant. You can see it so, like, it is clear as day that.
It's the direction of the ball for me. Like, if that hits your thigh, or if that hits any part of your body, the ball isn't going to be cushioned down to the ground. It's going to bounce. It's going to bounce off you. He's not moved his body in a way to kind of cushion the ball.
No,
it's obvious. It hits his hand. His hand shoots backwards, and the ball then drops to the floor. Like he's controlled it. He's gained an advantage from the ball hitting his hand. Yes, it happens really quick, but it's a really poor one. The referees, I think he's bang on. He's about 20 yards out, bang in the middle of the of the pitch. He's probably got a great view. Obviously, don't know for certain, but he's got a lino as well that can also, assistant referee who can also see. I believe he was on that.
He's on that side. And that's the worst bit about it for me, is that is a referee's assistant who is on that side level with the play. And actually, Carlton Morris's hand, after the ball hits it, it moves backwards. It doesn't come at him at a rate either, Carlton Morris. It hits Mark McGuinness and sort of loops to Carlton Morris. It doesn't go at him at like 100 mile an hour and it kills it dead. It kind of hits McGuinness, loops up to him, still manages to hit his hand. His hand then goes backwards. He turns away and tucks it in. I think the most frustrating thing for me was that the only one who actually appeals for it is Marvin Johnson. Everybody else seems to stick the hand up in the air when it hits Carlton Morris, but nobody's like smacking the hand. So the only thing that I can assume is that the referee looked straight over to the assistant and went, is that offside? Because James Beadle's come out. That's the only thing that I can think that he thought that players were going to ask, and then by the time he's run off to the corner and celebrating and all the rest of it, it's very hard to then go back on the decision and say that you've overturned it. It takes somebody with a really serious set of stones to be able to do that, but that ultimately is what the referee is there and what they are paid for, is to make those right and big calls. And I think yesterday we were on the end of one questionable one which was so blatant. That was really criminal. And then after that, it became a case of, I was convinced that every Luton fan had struggled to get into the ground until 78 minutes because it was so silent. But it became sort of like I'm trying not to go over the top here, but it did feel like at the end of the game that they knew that they had got away with one, because normally when you get beat 2-1 or you come from behind, there's not this raucous party atmosphere that was all of a sudden created, and that was definitely what was created yesterday afternoon. Yeah,
they weren't much whinging about the referee in the final 15, 20 minutes, put it that way, from the Luton end. It's funny that, isn't it, how they shut up about the referee after that point, but yeah, hey ho, I woke up this morning and I'm just like, why us? Like, I think sometimes, again, I put a message in the Discord group, a reminder, patreon.com/WTID pod if you want access to that and all of the other episodes that we do. But I was thinking to myself, are we actually an unlucky team? Or, when was the last time that we had some luck? Because obviously you only remember the unlucky times, don't you? And it's easy to say, oh yeah, we're really unlucky, but yeah, maybe that's one for people to have a think about. I think it's
probably because we only create 1 or 2 chances a game at the minute, James. Whereas if we were creating loads of chances and the referee's got lots of decisions to make, it makes it a lot. I suppose it makes it a lot. It's laws of probability, isn't it? If you're doing what Luton were doing in those final 15 minutes, where the ball's flying about and pinballing about the box every 13 seconds, like, you have got a lot of decisions to make in a very short amount of time, and there is going to be one of those that you do ultimately get really wrong. Whereas when we break, it's very obvious to see, because it's one player out wide, 2 players in the middle, 1 Sheffield Wednesday player. If they get fouled, it's clear as day. If they don't, and there's something kind of like a scuffle, it just doesn't get given at the minute. Again, I think it comes down to bodies in the box and ultimately the way in which that we're playing at the minute. But yeah, very, very frustrating day yesterday.
Yeah, right. Let's fast forward to next Saturday then. West Brom, league leaders, a team that haven't yet lost a game so far this season. They've scored 10 goals, conceded 2. It's not looking 5 wins, 1 draw. They've only failed to score in one of the games, which was the draw, and that was against Leeds on the second week of the season. They've got a player that's he's only scored 6 goals so far this season, which check my notes, that's all of the goals that we've scored so far this season as well. Which if there's a game that you're looking towards to kind of think, oh, let's bounce back from this defeat, it's not really the one that you need, is it? Going against the league leaders. However, as someone's pointed out, it is the early kickoff, and you never back an early kickoff. So I hope it is a coupon buster, because there'll be a lot of people backing West Brom to beat Sheffield Wednesday. And hopefully it's for our sake, it is exactly that. But it's going to be a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. They play a slightly different style to when we saw them at the back end of last season in terms of the tempo at which they play. I thought when West Brom came to Hillsborough last year, it was quite slow and pedantic. It's not that this year. It's the same level of monotonous passing, but it's a tempo with a purpose at the minute, and they are flying, West Brom, at the minute. It's going to be a really, really tricky game on Saturday. But again, I am always hopeful currently with the level of performance that we've seen from the last 2 games. There does have to be an opportunity where it does turn for us. And we do. It's another opportunity also for Danny to potentially do some creative thinking. Now, we'll preface that and say last time we saw some creative thinking from Danny against the top 6 side, we got beat 6-0 by Ipswich. So it is what it is. But I don't think anybody's going into this game thinking, oh my word, like, if we don't get anything from this, then the world's ending. Like, again, it'll go back to that level of frustration. But I think the game against Bristol in the week is the real opportunity out of the 3 that we've got coming up next, where you would look at and go, okay, that's a real opportunity to score some points. If we take anything from this game, I'd be really positive. But again, Championship is a strange league, isn't it? Like, they've got to get beat at some time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking their previous games. They played Plymouth at the weekend, or the weekend just gone, obviously. Beaten 1-0. I'm just looking. They hit the crossbar, the woodwork 3 times in the first half. However, having said that, I mean, look, I've not watched any of the game whatsoever, but 17 shots apiece in that game. In terms of shots on target, there was 4 for either side. Obviously, I mentioned West Brom hit the woodwork 3 times, which obviously would go down as a off-target shot. But I'm taking a little bit of promise from that in that, again, I've not seen any of the game, but it's not like they've absolutely dominated and played Plymouth off the park or anything like that. And, as much as Plymouth are really, really bad on the opening week, I can't say that they've, just suddenly turned into, prime Barcelona overnight and just, suddenly turned into this absolute beast. So there is a bit of promise there in that there's probably going to be some chances. It just comes down to you've got to finish your chances, and that is key on Saturday when we play West Brom. We've got to finish them.
Yeah, you're 100% right, and that is kind of where you sit and think. I talked about how well Michael Smith did yesterday. I still think you've got a dilemma for Saturday, because I think Michael Smith poses a significantly easier threat up top in terms of what you are going to get with him, as opposed to Ike Ugbo, who I thought when Ike Ugbo came on yesterday, I thought there was a distinct change in the emphasis of kind of like how we were looking to play, whereas the ball would go long, and rather than him jumping and being, basically in a defender's shirt, which is what Michael Smith was doing all game. He was, getting older defenders, roughing them up. Even if he wasn't winning headers, he was making sure that it was a Wednesday second ball rather than anything else. When Ike Ugbo came on, he was looking to kind of like drop off the centre halves by like a yard or 2, like looking to as if he was going to go for it and then dropping off to be able to receive the ball. I think it's potentially an opportunity and perhaps a game for him. But again, saying that, I think it would be incredibly harsh on Michael Smith to lose his place after yesterday, because I thought he played incredibly well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we are Deshaun Bernard. Is it going to be a 3-game suspension? I think it is, isn't it? it's definitely going to be one anyway. I know we could potentially appeal it. I don't know if we are going to appeal it or not. I'm not too sure on that. I think even if we do, I don't think it's really going to be overturned. So yeah, that is a bit of a blow in it. You know, he's come back into the side, and then now we're going to be without him for, you know, arguably one of the most difficult fixtures that we've got. So yeah, it's probably going to be Michael Ehekwa slotting back in there. Do you think he's got enough to keep Madger at bay?
I think the worry is the movement. I feel much more confident when I watch Michael Ehekwa play up against a forward who they're potentially going to get roughed up a bit and want to win a lot in the air. I feel Josh Madger is a lot more sort of like your drop off your centre halves into those into those little pockets away from sort of what we saw from Ike Ugbo at the back end of last season. You all right, James? Look like
Yeah,
I'm really struggling.
Do you know what? I've been struggling with this cold or flu or whatever, and I was talking there, and I'm like, I've got to really cut this off in a second because I'm going to have an absolute coughing fit, and my eyes are watering and everything. Yeah, I have been badly these past couple of days. I'm just about getting over it, but yeah, I am fine. Don't worry. Don't be calling 999.
But yeah, I think the issue is with West Brom is they've got a lot of different areas in which that they can hurt you, and a lot of different ways in which that you can go about it, because they can go direct, but they can also look to get in down the flanks. I think the amount that they have the ball, and this year the speed at which they use the ball, it's realistically this is the third year of Carlos Corberán being there, and the third year of Carlos Corberán's system. It's the first time that he's actually had any money to spend in the transfer window, and they've been in and around the playoffs in both of those seasons. Last year, obviously, they were ultimately lost out in the playoff semi-final. They're going to be a difficult side. They're going to be a test. They're going to be up there again at the end of the season. Yeah, I would like to see us go and put in a performance like we did against QPR and Luton, and just see what happens realistically on Saturday coming.
Yeah, I think I won't say there's no pressure on us, because of course, when you haven't won since the opening weekend, there is going to be a little bit of pressure. Obviously, we're at home as well, but there does come that element of I just want to see a performance. I just want to see us go there and actually take it to West Brom. Not in the like you've mentioned, not in the way that we did with Southampton and Ipswich and got slapped, but actually give them a game and actually make them want to beat us. Because let's be honest, the Luton game, they needed a red card and a penalty and a dubious handball goal to beat us. They 11v11, Luton aren't beating us, and I said that they were coming into the game a little bit more, but I felt we were dealing with it, and that red card changed the game. So yeah, and Luton will be there or thereabouts come the end of the season. Yep. So I think if we play like that, the performance has been better. QPR were better. Luton were one step ahead of that. If we can continue that improvement and play with that same sort of intensity that we did against Luton, and really get into West Brom's faces and don't let them have any time on the ball like we did, like I said, this weekend, I think we can carve open some chances. But again, I'm going to say it again. We have to finish the chances. We can't have Windass in the 6-yard box putting it straight at the keeper. I know it's easier said than done, and I'm just sat here, and I'm never been a footballer in my life. But these are professional footballers, and you have got to put your chances away. But yeah, it's going to be a tricky game. I'm not just going to resign to defeat straight away, because I feel like we are in a false position. We shouldn't be where we are. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one. Go on, Matt. Have you got a score prediction for Saturday?
I was very negative last week, didn't I? I said 2-0 Luton. I will go a little bit more positive this week. I will go for a draw. I was gonna say 2-2 then, but that would require a scoring. So I will go for a 1-1. And I'll be honest, I think I'll go for a 1-1, but this is a real shot. I think we'll come from behind to draw. I don't know what it was about yesterday. I just thought the performance, the reaction of the players at the end of the game, I thought the way that both managers spoke on the game yesterday gives you an indication of legitimately how good we were yesterday. I back us to get a draw. But I'm under no illusions. West Brom will be incredibly fired up because a large number of their players got taught a lesson at Hillsborough last year. So yeah, I would be under no illusion. You know, they'll be out to try and avenge a 3-0, a 3-0 slapping really, which what it was in May, April time.
Yeah, I'm going to go for, I think I said 1-0 against Luton, which nearly came off. It was 1-0, of course. I'm going to go for another 1-0 Wednesday win. I feel like we are going to give a great account of ourselves. I just want us to get that win. It's been we could have had it the last 2 weeks. We were so close. I just want us to get another win and just kind of kickstart the season off and just make people feel a little bit more comfortable about the whole situation, really. And I'm not sitting to sit here and say I'll take any win, getting hammered and then just pop up with a goal. I do want to see a performance as well. And yeah, I feel like we're going to have enough to do it. Who scores it? No idea. I ain't got a clue. Anyone.
At that point, chuck a corner in there, James. Chuck a corner
Michael
in there.
Ehekwa from a corner. Yes. I tweeted earlier. I don't know if you've seen the Arsenal Man City game, but they score from a corner again. Like carbon copy from the Champions League, I think it was. And I just tweeted saying, imagine if we had Arsenal's set piece coach, ... we still wouldn't score from a set piece. I do feel it is like that. It's just never ever going to happen, is it? Really? Right, we've got a couple of minutes left, Matt, before we finish off. The only other bit of news that we haven't spoken about on the pod, because of course this news broke on the Monday as we record on the Sunday. The 25-26 third kit. I spoke about this on the debate show in midweek, but I just want to get your thoughts on the whole situation. Not really about the kit, because we haven't got a foggiest of idea what it's even going to look like, other than it's going to be white and blue with the old owl. But it came totally out of the blue, didn't it? Really, just no murmurs, no rumours or anything. Just all of a sudden, bosh, buy this kit. And I think I'm right in saying it's as the pre-sale ended.
Tomorrow, ended? Isn't it? It's tomorrow. It's from Monday to Monday. I think you had 7 days to do it. We are skint, aren't we? My God, are we skint? Wow, Jesus. It was. I think you mentioned it on the Wednesday where you said, you can secure it at this year's price of $69.99, and all I was thinking was, they can't get fucking more expensive, surely. It's a Macron kit. Ultimately, again, those of us who've purchased it, as everyone's been roped in by the nostalgia, haven't they? In terms of we've brought the old owl back, and that's it. Is like all it took was that and limited, and again, people are scrambling massively. But again, my overriding feeling was he is brassic and looking to drum up some funds or to play some sort of trick with the accountancy for this year because we are flying too close to the wind, or he's looking to give Danny some sort of a budget in January because he will have a figure. This is what we've got to spend based off the new kit sales. This is what I can put in. This is how close it will take us to financial fair play. I think we've seen so much of this nonsense. Anybody with half a modicum of common sense can see it's a cash grab for nothing other than the fact of he's trying to get money for something, whether it's a tax bill, whether it's transfers, whether it's this. We can all see through it. The problem is we're also mentally and emotionally attached to this. Is when that blooming announcement come out, I'm sat there in between my lesson changeovers trying to refresh the link to try and get it because I couldn't read the full thing, and I saw limited again. I thought, oh, not again. And I genuinely, I may never financially recover from this season. Like legitimately, it will be by the end of this season, I'll have ended up buying 4 kits for my son, each at what, £60 a pop?
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
A black away shirt for myself, a season ticket to boot, and now this as well, because, again, I saw limited and thought, again, it's not something that I want to miss out on. This is ridiculous levels of what fans are being asked to go through to support this football club. It's a ridiculous level of financial burden that are being put on families across the area and across the country. And straight up, it's not on, is it? Like, realistically, it's not on.
No. I saw a comment saying, they don't make that much off the t-shirt, off the shirt sales. Clubs, it's the manufacturers that do that. Rah rah rah. Whilst I agree on that comment, they don't make that much on the shirt sales. One, we don't even know what this kit looks like, and two, like that money that's gone in has not gone straight to Macron. We haven't bought it off the Macron website. We've bought it from Sheffield Wednesday. So he has got full up £69 from everyone that wants to buy that shirt times how many shirts they've bought. So he's got that. I don't know when his order goes in. I don't know when the money has to be paid for said shirts or anything like that. But he's got all the money. So it screams to me cash flow, that he hasn't got the money coming in. Like you just mentioned, maybe it's a tax bill, maybe it's wages, whatever. Maybe he's just seen how much we bought the black kit and thought, let's just fucking do it again. And that, the question mark is if it is for that, then I hope he puts some of that money to one side, because when that order needs to go in, he best have that money to be able to pay for these shirts. And it's mad that I'm even thinking that a business that spends millions and millions of pounds a year. We were doing that on the extra time, weren't we, the other week? A business that's losing in the region of 20 million. He's lost 150 million over the time that he's been here, which is just eye-watering. That we're having to even talk about, whether he's having to do this thing for cash flow or not. But yeah, it's just another thing that he's done that just doesn't really sit well. It's another thing that he's done. People are going, he's learning because he's the pre-order. What he should have done, he's got some more of them black shirts made if he wants to actually make some money. Do you know what I mean? If you're doing it purely from generating revenue or doing it for the good of the fans, but it's not. We don't even know what it looks like. I mean, if you're doing it for the fans, I think someone mentioned this and it was a great point. A tenner for a deposit. When the design comes out, you can, a bit like on Amazon. I don't know if you pre-ordered anything on Amazon, you don't pay for it, and then when it ships, you get a random payment on. You think, what the fuck have I bought there? And you're looking, it's that thing that I bought 2 months ago, whatever it may be. Do something similar to that, and this is the design. You've got until said date to cancel your order if you don't like it or whatever. The money will be taken on this date, and then guess what? 99% of the people will say yes, and if some people say no, all right, they've lost the tenner, and someone else will probably buy it anyway. So, but he's not doing that because he wants the money today for something. But yeah.
And that's something, James, if me and you, with not an ounce of shred of like proper business acumen between us, like genuine, legitimate, high-end business acumen, which is what football clubs are, can figure this out, it's just so transparent and see-through, isn't it? And it just, let's add it to this season's first mental thing that he's done. Like, it's this season's first mental thing, because it was around this point last year, wasn't it, where he started complaining about tax bills and started setting up GoFundMes and started talking about, I'm not putting any more money in. It's just bleeding your everyday Sheffield Wednesday fan dry, rather than actually doing the hard yards and going out and appointing people to actually get people into the club who actually can afford this type of stuff, rather than your everyday match-going fan.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know how many people will have gone out and pre-ordered the shirt. I've absolutely no idea. I don't know how many of the black shirt that people ordered or anything like that, but just doing the numbers, 500,000 is 7,246 shirts. So
there'll be more than that. Yeah, there'll be more. Right. There'll be more than that. James,
okay, well, do a million then. A million is obviously just shy of 15,000 shirts that you have to sell. Obviously, I get that's not going to be pure profit, but as I just mentioned, that is the money that he's getting. He's seeing like, oh, shit, I need a million. It felt very rushed. It felt like 100%. He turned up on Monday morning and went, third shirt, And they've gone, we've already done one of them, boss. Next year, then.
But
Make it a pre-order.
And that's an idea. James, again, you don't have to say if you don't want it. Have you pre-ordered it for next year?
I haven't, no.
So that's 1 in 2 of us have pre-ordered it for next year, and it's a blind shirt with no idea. Now I know that's a really small sample size, but again, there will be more than there'll be more than 7,000 people who have pre-ordered that. And that's across. We're not just talking about match-going fans. We're talking about people who live thousands of miles away, and the football shirt from each season is the only thing that still connects them to that, apart from getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to sit in the living room to watch it. It's platforms like this. It's Twitter. It's speaking with other fans. It's buying the shirt. It's to still feel part of it. I would wager on 7,000 as a minimum, anywhere between 7 and 12,000, say, shirts that have been sold. And you're talking £500,000 to £750,000. That to me screams of unpaid tax bill yet again.
Yeah, I really hope it isn't, but like you said, he's screaming that, or screaming he needs money for something, like I mentioned. But anyway, sorry to finish it on a bit of a downer. Although, to be fair, we lost the game 2-1. I thought I'd be a bit more disappointed than what I actually am, really, when it comes to it. But again, we do it fairly soon after the full-time whistle. But I think you wasn't too sour. I feel if we'd have been doing this at kind of 7, 8 o'clock on a Saturday night, you might have been a little bit different. But
no, I mean it's. Let's not go back into it, because it'll just ultimately I think we said everything that really needs to be said on it. I'm sure there'll be plenty more opportunities for me to start digging into clubs for being Tim Bot and all the rest of it.
Hey, we're not playing them, Rotherham, unless we get them in the FA Cup, I guess. Right, let's wrap things up. Massive thanks everyone for watching live. Massive thanks for everyone listening wherever it is that you're listening to this podcast. If you enjoy the podcast and you want to get more of this sort of content, then make sure you become a Patreon member. Patreon.com/WTID pod. We are going to be recording extra time straight after this. We are going to be doing an A to Z of Sheffield Wednesday. I don't know where I got this idea from, to be honest, Matt. I wasn't looking at the top charts of the current sports podcasts at all when I thought about this idea. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. We are doing A, B, and C, so you get the three of the letters when it comes to Sheffield Wednesday. So yeah, if you want to listen to us do that, just for record, the extra time episodes, we like to do something different to kind of what's happening on the week in, week out, so people can get their topics in. Like I said, last week we were talking about Barry Bannan, but yeah, kind of away from the actual what's happened in the week. So yeah, get involved if you want to listen to that one. Massive thanks everyone, and we'll see you all next time. Cheers, guys.